When you have a particular problem, you call in a specialist. In nature, specialists give up traditional paths to get very good at one thing. It usually refers to the place they live and the food they eat. In China's mountain forests, a vegetarian carnivore has decided to go green. But investing all your resources into a single opportunity makes you vulnerable to changes in the market. The giant panda is a rare treasure in nature, but shifts in their homeland have threatened the panda's life, death, and taxonomy. Welcome back to Life, Death, and Taxonomy. It's your 30 minutes of interesting animal information. I'm Joe.
And I'm Carlos.
Thank you to Cassie for the creation of our theme song. To hear more of Cassie's music, please search Cassie Michelle on YouTube or on Spotify.
And thank you to Brian for the creation of this week's artwork. To see that, you can follow us on Facebook or Twitter at LT Taxonomy, or visit us at our home on the web at ldtaxonomy.com.
And today we're talking about a great big plant-based carnivore, but more on that later.
Only eats bean burgers.
And never eats spider webs.
What?
That's a mnemonic for the cardinal directions.
Oh. It's never eats soggy waffles.
I've heard it both ways.
Spider webs, goodness.
We're talking about, what are we talking about?
We're talking about the giant panda.
And I bet based on what they eat, they do accidentally eat spider webs sometimes.
I'm sure they eat quite a few spider webs. It's also known as the giant cat bear in Taiwan. So, sure. I don't see where they get cat from.
Because it's lazy. And it likes to nap.
So do bears in general. And there is a bear in China that, maybe not in Taiwan, but there's a bear in China that does normal bear things. But we're also going to call it, giant cat bears, Taiwan. We're going to call it the Pooh Bear for reasons we can talk about later. And the bamboozled Bandit Bear. Bamboozled.
He's confused.
He's confused. He's a heffalump and woozle. Which ties into Pooh Bear. Let's taxonomize this bad boy. It's a kingdom you know, love, and are in. Animalia. Phylum is Chordata. The class is Mammalia. Doing another mammal. 2 in a row. Order is Carnivora, which you might be surprised to learn.
Or you might not. It looks like a carnivora, and in fact, there's reasons that it is a carnivora.
Right, but everybody knows that pandas eat bamboo, and so it's like you might, if you don't actually look into the taxonomy, you would be forgiven for assuming that it's not really a bear. Like a killer whale is not really a whale.
Or a koala is not really a bear.
Or a koala is not really a bear. Yeah, you would be forgiven for thinking that, it just looks like a bear. But no, it is a real bear because it's in the family Ursidae. So true bear. It's in the genus Ailuropoda. And the species is Melanoleuca. So Ailuropoda, Melanoleuca. Leuca. There's only, and it's the giant panda, and I was really confused because there's only one panda. So why is this the giant one? And because of course you could also call this the lesser panda, or the least panda, or the most panda, because it's the only panda. But they used to think it was related to the much smaller red panda, but the red panda is not a bear, and it's actually not an anything. I mean, it is a something, but it's not related to anything. It's the only living member of its family, kind of like a fantasy protagonist, like Harry Potter. It's the only living member. Yeah, it has no, like it's the only living extant member of its family, and then the order is Carnivora. So it's closely related to all carnivores, as closely as it can be. So it has no real relation to the giant panda.
Yeah, I can see why you'd think that, though. They kind of have like a bear's face.
Yeah,
And they walk on their full foot, it looks like. Like a bear.
Yeah, they look more closely related to like a Wolverine raccoon kind of thing, like a weaselish, like long body. But anyway, we're not talking about red pandas. Maybe we will at some point, but we're talking about the actual giant panda, and since we're in the business of naming things, it's time for my favorite part of the show. Cue the music. Critter groups. The part of the show where I ask you, Joe, a question, and that question is the same every time. What is the name of a group of this animal? Or what is this term of entry? Or what is the collective noun? It's all the same. So, if you saw a group of pandas together having a grand old time, would you say that's A, an embarrassment of pandas, B, a harassment of pandas, C, an assessment of pandas, or D, a thicket of pandas?
Listen, we have to do some work on the apartment building, so we're gonna have to assess you for one panda.
That's extortion. An assessment of pandas is you're just being tested by pandas. These pandas are really testing me today. Which would also be a harassment of pandas. And if they slipped and fell, it would be an embarrassment of pandas.
And they do that a lot.
Slip and fall?
They tumble around, and they're very clumsy.
It's very embarrassing.
But I don't feel like they have an embarrassed bone in their body. I think they're just head empty, no thoughts.
It's more like it's like you're watching The Office. You're embarrassed for them.
Second ham. Well, number 2 said the second ham embarrassment. But so no, they're just adorable. So I'm gonna go with assessment. Final answer.
Incorrect.
Yeah, that didn't ring true in my mind.
The answer is embarrassment.
Oh.
It is an embarrassment of pandas.
I guess if you have a ton of pandas, because they're endangered, you're like, well, they're vulnerable now. You'd think, man, what an embarrassment of pandas. We have so many.
Which is, yeah, it's an embarrassment of riches. Like, who am I to have so many pandas? And we're going to talk about sharing pandas a little bit later on. But you want to talk about what these guys look like?
Do you want to talk about what these guys look like?
Sure, yeah, I will. I did write some stuff down here. And I don't want my time to have been wasted. So, pandas are small bears. I'd call them small bears. I mean, there are bears that are smaller, but if you're thinking like grizzly or polar, then they're much smaller than them. They have relatively short limbs and large heads. And like orcas, penguins, zebras, and the infamous Hamburglar, they are exclusively dressed in a chic black and white tux. Because if you're thinking about being my brother, it don't matter if you're black or white. Their bodies are...
Or both.
Or yeah, both. I guess so. It doesn't matter. Their bodies are white while their legs are black. They have a black strip going up over their front shoulders and across their backs. So it's kind of like in these layers. And they have white heads with black patches on their eyes and ears. And researchers think that pandas might be able to use those eye patches to identify each other, so they might be unique, kind of like a zebra's stripes. The panda also has an opposable thumb that he uses to grip food, execute the whooshy finger hold, and leave a social credit ranking for his peers. There's also a recently discovered subspecies of giant panda called the Qinling panda, which is exactly the same as a regular panda, except brown fur instead of black. It's still the same species, though, so it's basically just a subspecies.
It looks dusty.
Yeah, it kind of looks like he was just rolling around in some dirt.
Or it looks like you let him fall asleep on your car hood for too long.
This is the colors.
Your dashboard
drained out. and desaturated everything. But yeah, so I said they're smallish bears. They're not the smallest bears, but they are smaller than the bears you're probably thinking of. So how small are they? Or big? All depends on what.
Well, there's a good range. They can be as small as... Oh, wait a minute. I think I know what you're getting at. Let's talk about the listener's favorite part of the show. Welcome to Measure Up. The part of the show when we present the animal size and dimensions in relatable terms through a quiz that's fun for the whole family. It's also part of the show that's introduced by you when you send in an audio of yourself saying, singing, or chittering the words measure up into ldtaxonomy@gmail.com. We don't have a new measure up intro this week, so that means we get to hear from an animal, and Carlos has to guess what it is.
Marvelous.
The brave little toaster goes to Marvelous.
Goes to Captain Marvelous.
Okay, without further ado, the listener's favorite part of the show. Hear that pretty good?
Yeah, it sounded like someone going blah.
Yeah, was it A, someone going blah?
Okay.
I mean, was it A giraffe, B, a water buffalo, C, a raven, or D, a white-tailed deer? 3 hooves and a beak.
12 hooves and a beak.
3 hoofsmen.
Yes, there you go. I'm going to go with the white-tailed deer. Final answer.
Final answer. The correct answer was giraffe.
Ah.
It was actually a baby giraffe.
I've never heard... Well, I actually don't know what giraffes sound like.
They sound like this. Blah.
Blah.
They bleat like sheep sometimes, I've heard.
I know, yeah, because there's a giraffe section of the audience in at the Lion King show.
Yes,
Disney
that's
World.
where I've heard that.
And they're like, okay, you're the lions, you know what to say. You're the elephants, you know what to say. You're the warthogs, you know what to say. You're the giraffes. And everyone's just like, what do we do? And they're like, it's kind of like bleeding like a sheep.
Well, let's talk height. They are between 1.2 to 1.9 meters. Not a big swing to an American ear, but what if I told you it was 3 feet and 11 inches to 6 feet and 3 inches?
There we go. Now I understand. Now we're on the same wave length.
So yeah, you could have this small little Winnie the Pooh, or you could have a 6'3" panda.
But that's
so
like that's its length. That's it, like if it stood up, that's how tall it would be. It would be slightly taller than your average American male.
But they are usually in butterball shape, little butterball turkeys.
Like your average American male.
How many pandas go into the Ming Great Wall?
The Ming Great Wall?
Well, here's a hint. The Ming Great Wall is
the
part
Great
of
Wall?
the Great Wall of China that was built by the Ming Dynasty. It starts in
Go for it.
Jiayu. There's no way I'm right, but it's just that's what it is.
So it's a section of the Great Wall, not the whole thing?
It starts at the Jiayu Pass and connects to the Hushan Great Wall in Manchuria.
I hear there's a good candidate there.
Good candidate.
A Manchurian candidate. All right, I have no idea. I could have worked with the entirety of the Great Wall, but not this.
Well, now you know it's not. It's less than the entirety of the Great Wall.
Yeah. So it could be anywhere from like 10 miles to several thousand. Ming. That, I feel like that's a dynasty that I've heard more than once when talking about Chinese history. So maybe they're like the ones that contributed the most to the wall.
How big is the wall? How long is the wall in its entirety, do you think?
I don't know exactly. It's a few thousand miles. Because it at one point ran unbroken from east of Beijing all the way to like almost Tibet. So
it's more than a few.
Did I say a few or did I say several?
It's definitely several.
I'm gonna say this Ming Dynasty contributed 1,000 miles worth of wall to the Great Wall.
And I would build 1,000 miles just to see you tonight.
Just to be the man who built 1,000 miles worth of wall to stop the Huns from getting in. All right, my answer is 845,000 pandas.
Final answer.
Yes.
The correct answer is 4,657,894 pandas.
Darn it, the Mings were much bigger contributors to the wall than I had initially thought.
Yeah.
How
they
dare I?
8,850 kilometers or 5,500 miles.
Boy, that's the majority of the wall, right?
The wall is about 13,000.
Never mind. It's a little less than half.
13,000 miles. 21,000 kilometers. Okay. But wait, there's weight. Males can weigh as much as 160 kilograms or 350 pounds. The standard weight is probably like closer to 200, less than that. So in captivity, pandas sometimes eat yams. How many of the world's largest sweet potatoes go into pandas? I have this vague feeling that we've done yams before for this.
Me too.
But here's a hint. The yolked yam was grown in 2002 in Lanzarote.
The yolked yam.
Lanzarote, Spain. How would you say that? What's the pronunciation of Lanarote in Spanish?
Lanzarote?
Yeah, probably that. It was grown by Manuel Perez.
Name so nice, they named him twice. So the biggest yam, how many of those go into the panda? Or the average yam?
Yeah. How many of those go into
the biggest yam?
Yamda? How many yams go into the panda?
I don't know. I imagine this yam is 20 pounds. It'd be a yolked yam. So 17 and a half yams go into a big panda.
17 and a half, final answer.
Mm-hmm.
The correct answer is 4.3.
This is a big yam.
The yam was 37 kilograms or 81 pounds and 9 ounces.
You don't want to yoke that yam.
Definitely not. That yam's got gams.
Ugh.
That's a ham of a yam.
It's gains for yam.
Gains for J's.
What?
Gains for days. Yams for days. Yams for... Yam doesn't rhyme with gains.
It doesn't. You're right.
But that's all I got. Do you have any interesting facts before we get into the big fact?
I sure do. So as we mentioned, the panda lives in China. It lives exclusively in China and exclusively in a very small section of central China in the Sichuan province.
Where that sauce comes from?
Yeah, and that sauce is not... It's not made out of pandas. China sometimes used to give pandas to countries as gifts, and what was aptly termed panda diplomacy.
That's like
we
could be calling white elephant gift exchanges panda gift exchanges.
Well, no, because the white elephant gift exchange is like a monkey's paw gift.
I feel like a panda is like a monkey's paw because it eats a metric ton.
Yeah, but it's like it's a boon for whoever gets it because everybody wants to go see a panda because they're adorable. But Americans have gunboat diplomacy and the Chinese have panda diplomacy. Two very different things. We're like, okay, well, if you don't do what we say, we're just going to have a bunch of,
boats with guns,
ships,
gunboats
that appear offshore for no reason. They're just going to be there. And China's like, if you don't do what we say, we're not going to give you any of our pandas.
Let's mix them. Listen, you can have gunboats or you can have a panda. A little carrot, a little stick.
Speak softly and give them a big panda.
What animal does America have that we could give to countries? A moose?
Rattlesnakes.
You're still thinking like a gunboat.
Yes, we're still trying to coerce people. That's actually so. China no longer does that. Instead, they rent out their pandas for 10-year periods. But the fee, the rent for a panda is $1 million a year, and all cubs that are born are the property of China. So,
are they that lucrative?
I mean, yeah. I mean, the San Diego Zoo and the Atlanta Zoo, I think, are the only two zoos in the states that have pandas, and they're the most. I think they're some of the most populated, some of the most lucrative zoos in the country.
But I mean, is a panda making you more than $1 million a year?
I don't know. I don't know what zoo. How much money zoos make, or if they recoup that cost every year with having a bunch of people show up.
That explains why like pandas make news so much. It's like, we have a panda, please come look at it.
Oh, look, the baby this Ling Ling just had a baby. Come check it out. Otherwise, we're gonna be in the red this year.
Well, from back, are there any pandas that are the offspring of pandas that were given away through panda diplomacy that are still out there?
I don't know. That
maybe not, because it's hard to breed pandas.
The whole all cubs are still China's property thing probably extended to the we gave you the panda, but we still get the cubs thing. I don't know. That was a while ago that they used to do that. But part of the difficulty of keeping pandas in captivity is that they only have one cub every 2 years, and once they're behind bars, they tend to lose interest in mating completely. To the point where scientists have stooped to giving them panda Viagra and showing them videos of other pandas mating. To get the gears turning, like, hey, you know that thing that most animals are completely dedicated to. You should probably think about doing that if you have any spare time, Mr. Panda.
Like my schedule's pretty full.
I've got to eat and poop, and that's basically
and nap.
That's it. But it's just crazy. On one hand, you have animals like the anglerfish or spiders or things where the male's entire existence is just to mate. Like, that's the only thing. They don't even eat. They just mate. They're born, they mature in a few days, they mate, and then they're dead. And
maybe it's protest.
But the pandas are like that's so low on their priority level. They're just they realize how absurd it is that they're bears, and they're like, I don't think we should be. I think we're done being.
I think it's a form of protest. It's like, you're gonna imprison me. I'm not gonna have babies that are also gonna be imprisoned. Heck no. Yeah, but then the scientists are like, yeah, but like we're really trying to have pandas on the earth. Can you work with us?
And they're like, no, we shouldn't be here. You don't get it. Like, we would have been naturally selected so hard if it hadn't been for you guys keeping us here and showing us these lewd videos.
Well, we could talk about what. Do you know why they're threatened? Do you have any what's the biggest reason they're threatened besides the fact that they are lazy babies?
No, I didn't look that up. Did you?
Well, the diminishing of bamboo forests. So you need a ton of bamboo to have a panda, and if you lose bamboo forests, then it's hard to be a panda.
Yeah, I mean, fortunately, bamboo grows like really, really fast, but you need so much of it for one panda. And this is all going to probably tie into your major fact, but despite being bears, they don't hibernate. They don't even establish permanent dens because they can't. They have to constantly be on the move looking for bamboo. If it gets too cold, they'll either move to a warmer area or they will cover themselves in horse manure, which is interesting.
Wow.
Their average lifespan is between 20 and 30 years, and that's they don't really have any natural predators as adults. But as cubs, they need to watch out for snow leopards, martens, which are like weasels, eagles, dogs, and the Asian black bear, which is a real bear. They're all real bears, but that's all I got for the fast facts.
All right, let's talk major fact. I'm calling this major fact a specialist boy. Taxonomically, giant pandas are, like we talked about, carnivores, but they eat a diet that is made up almost entirely of bamboo. And so we've heard both of those things, but how do those things go together? Badly. They fall into the carnivore category based on their kin and genetics. If you look them up, they look like bears. They're built like bears. They don't look like things that eat bamboo. But they gave up all that bothersome chasing and killing in favor of some more stationary prey.
But think about it. Grizzlies, their main source of food comes from them standing stationary in a river and just catching things that fly into their mouth. Like, it's not that hard.
But the salmon run is also a
North American thing.
It's a very specific event. The problem with the fact that they eat bamboo, that they still have these carnivore bodies, is that they have the body and the digestive system that's built to eat meat. And like other stuff. Because of that, they don't have the extra stomachs like bovids or other plant eaters or the specialized crop like the Hotsen. They can't sap bamboo of all the little nutrients it offers.
Which is little in the first place.
Right. Yeah, bamboo is essentially grass that became a tree. It's a woody grass. So it's very low in protein and really high in fiber. And like other carnivores, pandas can't digest fiber that well. So it doesn't offer a ton of nutritional value. So you might think, that means it's time to find another food source. But the panda said, yeah, but what about even more bamboo? I'm thinking we put in more bamboo.
I'm thinking there's more than one answer to this problem we have. I see a lot of bamboo around here.
Yeah, so pandas spend half the day eating, and they eat around 20 to 40 pounds of food every day. So they do supplement with other fruit and meat, but that only makes up about 1% of their diet. So they'll eat
like a bug,
a berry or a bug, yeah, by accident because they're eating bamboo.
Yeah, it just happens to be. I'm actually sure they eat quite a few bugs and spider webs.
Yeah,
even though they're never supposed to eat spider webs.
So when they're not eating, they're resting and pooping sometimes at the same time. They poop in their during nap time sometimes. But if you're thinking that sounds disgusting, their poop looks like little green stones, little round green stones. A closer look would reveal that it's just a clump of undigested bamboo. That's what their poop is. It's just like...
What else could it possibly be?
A little bamboo ball. Part of the reason pandas are born so tiny is because their diets are so low in nutrients. Their mother's diet is so low in nutritional value. But then also, because they lack nutrients, pandas have a generally low blood oxygen level. So babies have to come out in order to breathe. So they come out really early. They come out these pink little blind babies. And in terms of placenta, animals with placentas, they are the smallest newborn to mother size ratio.
Oh, wow. Even like a kangaroo, Joey? I guess
I wonder... No, does that count as placental? Because it's a different process.
I mean, I don't know.
There's a reason the thing I read specifically said placental animals rather than mammals. And I'm thinking that might be why.
Okay.
Because you're right. I think maybe that might be in a separate category, and marsupials
are different.
do tend to be little.
Like the rest of the incubation happens in the pouch.
Yeah. So even though moms can't give them much nutrients, they do have one gift up their sleeves. When a baby panda is
The
born,
gift of a sweet, sweet death.
no, when something better than death, a little. When a baby panda is born, their intestines are sterile. What does that mean? It means, like you and me, animals have bacteria in their gut. A bacteria is essential in helping you break down food during digestion. If you ever hear somebody say you gotta maintain a healthy gut biome,
Good gut fauna.
Yeah, a good gut health. They're talking about like maintaining the bacteria in your gut.
Eat
and
yogurt.
stuff like yogurt and helps with that.
Blue cheese.
Yeah. Pandas are born bacteria free. But all their mothers have to do is give them one of her little green stones. Yeah, that's right. Baby pandas eat their mother's feces to seed their own gut biome. Moms give their children a little green gift of bacteria that allows babies to live the bamboo lifestyle.
And that's all the bacteria they'll ever get, and then they pass that on to their children.
So not only are pandas not built for digesting bamboo, they're born not able to do it. And they have to eat their mother's feces in order to do it.
They're actively trying to be not here anymore.
So the reason I called it a specialist boy is this is something in nature called specialism. The panda is a specialist. And that means they got really, really good at doing one thing, and that is sitting around and digesting bamboo. So they, in a world where you're surrounded by miles and miles of bamboo, that's a great idea. Like, you adapt to be able to eat one of the most abundant food sources in your environment. But the problem is specialists, like investors that put all of their eggs in one stock,
You got to diversify.
you're really vulnerable to change and shifts in the market. And one of the shifts in the market are people building infrastructure. So you cut down bamboo forests, and the pandas can't adapt quickly. Specialists are usually not very adaptable. So if you have, like, compare that to the American black bear, who can smell food from 2 miles away, who eats everything, who eats trash, who, if the entire world was developed, would still eat your trash. Like that, the American black bear can survive change, but because that's a generalist. A black bear is a generalist, and the panda bear is a specialist.
America. We eat trash. Yeah, it's just crazy. I'd be really interested to know, like, how this came about, because you'd think that they would adapt out of this if they adapted into it, but they're just not doing that.
But it took them thousands of years to adapt this, so they're going out before they can adapt. That's the thing. Specialists aren't very adaptable,
but they can eat and digest things other than bamboo.
But they don't have the energy.
They don't
that.
They don't have the will or desire to eat anything else.
But they literally, their blood they can't run. They don't have enough oxygen in their blood.
Well, no, I mean, if you just put a bunch of meat in front of a panda, it might like eat a little bit of it, but it wouldn't eat enough it wouldn't change its diet to that, even though its digestive system is designed to do that. Just like if you put a bunch of bamboo in front of like a hyena, it literally can't eat or digest that, and so it would die of starvation even if it was trying to eat it. But where, like, if you put a bunch of meat in front of a panda bear, if it did actually decide to eat it, it would live and thrive, but because it was designed to eat that. All right. Yeah, I don't know if we mentioned this. It also poops 40 times a day, the panda. 40 times a day.
Oh, yeah.
We just covered the sloth, which poops like once a week. It's like half its body weight.
It's like 5 bowling balls worth or something.
Oh, my
goodness.
That's why I called it the poo bear. Because it is eating and pooping and sleeping, and that is it. That's the...
And sometimes it poops while it sleeps, and sometimes when it's cold, it sleeps in poop.
It's so symbiotic, or not symbiotic, synergistic. But yeah, that was the giant panda. For you out there in Podcastia, stay on the move. Cover yourself in horse manure if it gets too cold, and you can have me hat, you can have me shoe, but you never want to bother with the old bamboo, like the panda here in Life, Death, and Taxonomy.
Hey Taxonomy Titans, thanks for listening to the episode. Just a few quick things. As always, reviews and social media engagement are greatly appreciated, but recommending the podcast to friends is the best way to help us grow. If you'd like some LDT flavored merch, check out teespring.com/stores/taxonomy-tees. That's it. Thanks for listening all the way to the end.
Life, Death, and Taxonomy is my favorite in the world podcast.
Wouldn't it be awkward if Vanessa Carlton got to wherever the Proclaimers lived right when the Proclaimers got to wherever Vanessa Carlton lived?